Fudge is actually fucking mid? Fudge mid, yeah, exactly. The Fudge maker. That's good. Will he make Fudge mid lane? I think top is too different than mid.
One of the absolute spiciest moves for this LCS offseason is C9's top laner Fudge to stop playing top actually and set up shop in the mid lane. There's been some crazy opinions on this move, and it's very important that we get the right context of the whole situation here to help justify why C9 would opt for this, especially with multiple top tier mid laners on the table. The goal here is to break everything down and to help justify the potentially crazy move this appears to be on the surface. Before we get started, quick reminder to get subscribed if you enjoy it. Coming into the offseason, it did appear that Fudge was intending to play top lane, since you know he was a top laner. But there were some complications in the offseason that ended up making him the mid laner. As much as I'd like to say that this could be an awesome upgrade to their previous mid lane, when you're going off a year without perks, it's really hard to come up with an argument here. But the argument here is not just about a slot for slot improvement for this one player on average, because that was not the mindset of the Fudge or the team either. This was a move thinking about the entire team as a unit and building the best roster of 5 players that the team could put together. Of course, Fudge is not that comfortable in the mid lane as of yet. It's great that he's had solo lane experience, and there can potentially be some carryover in that regard, but to that effect, there's still an immense amount that he can learn and pick up from the role. There's still some time until the new LCS season begins, and it's quite important for Fudge to get as comfortable on the role as possible to maximize his impact. However, LS has actually indicated that based on the way he plays the game and his skill set, Fudge already actually plays like a mid laner autofill to top, so his potential proficiency in mid lane actually might be better than we think. In addition, when we look at some of the competition for mid lane in the LCS, there's actually not that many extremely scary players out there in the league right now. Of course, we've got All-Star Bjergsen making his return to pro play on Team Liquid, as well as returning mid lane LCS champion Abadage, but other than that, every confirmed mid laner in the league honestly seems like they really won't completely overrun Fudge. So yes, I actually do believe in the Fudge factor here, and with the rest of his team to back it up, I think that this mid lane move has some surprisingly high levels of viability. This segues well into the main reason that Fudge moved to mid, and it was because of the stacked Korean import package that they got for their roster in 2022. From top to bot, we have Sandbox top laner Summit, Blabber in the jungle, Fudge of course playing mid, T1 Academy player Berserker at AD carry, and support Winsome. This year's approach for C9 is pretty different than what we've seen in the last few years, opting to really focus on finding some hidden gems that can give them a unique advantage that other NA teams haven't really seen yet. I definitely also consider this a risky decision by almost every stretch of the imagination, because these are all very young players, and although they carry much promise individually, there's complications like having their mechanical talents and differences meshed together in this new team environment, as well as classic team issues like language or culture barriers on top of other things. And how this ties back to Fudge playing mid lane is actually mainly because of Summit. While essentially shopping around for players, C9 weren't too satisfied with many of the mid lane options that they could have hoped for, but ended up realizing in the offseason that there were quite a few excellent top laners that were available. Being surprisingly flexible, Fudge then suggested that he could move to mid lane in order to make room and free up a slot so that they can grab an amazing top laner like Summit. The amount of variance that this move brings to the team really can't be understated because they've introduced so many new cards to the team. This move in some ways can actually also be cheaper for C9 due to the acquisition of some of these younger Korean talents versus investing guaranteed millions of dollars in order to play around with Western players that are kind of considered known quantities. More and more, the game of League for many teams has very much been a game of Moneyball, since many of these teams aren't profitable right now and they can't really stomach the big price tags that some players are commanding. I could very well be wrong here, especially with Cloud9 being one of the few profitable orgs in the space, as well in the case of Summit, who likely commands a decent price tag coming from Sandbox, but it's not hard to argue that it'll be much more worth it than investing into the same old players that we've tried before. I think overall though, the dynamic and choice for Cloud9 to really think about their roster as a cohesive unit became the main fuel for this decision to move Fudge to the mid lane, and I truly believe that this mindset can be extremely productive for the team. Although there are large, undeniable risks that come along with a major decision like this, it's very creative to be doing this, and the potential upside for the roster is absolutely incredible. Hopefully this was insightful to you all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.